Hi, I'm Mark, and I like to talk about UK politics and Brexit from an outside view. Although I do know the UK from the inside as well, so don't worry. But Keir Starmer and his Labour Party have won the British general election by a landslide, and they almost have 2/3 of the MPs. But they received far fewer votes than that. But on closer inspection, Labour's election victory turns out to be quite hollow. Firstly, voter turnout was very low at around 57%, and according to some calculations, the lowest in 100 years. And secondly, even with this low turnout, Labour only received 33.7% of the vote. And compared to Labour's election debacle under Jeremy Corbyn in 2019, Labour has barely gained a little at this time, and the absolute number of votes may even have decreased. Keir Starmer himself lost 10,000 votes and 17 percentage points in his London constituency, and his result is worse than that of his predecessor Jeremy Corbyn, who ran against Labour as an independent in a neighbouring London constituency where he won. And a shining winner looks quite different. Labour is only able to win so many direct mandates because the Conservative Party have plummeted to a historic low of almost 24%. But of the votes that the Conservatives have lost, only a third have gone to Labour. 2/3 have gone to Nigel Farage's new right-wing populist force Reform UK, which has only won 5 constituencies, but is in second place in many others and is the party with the highest growth almost everywhere. In many Labour strongholds and also many seats that voted Conservative for the first time in 2019 and have now gone back to Labour, it was observed on election night that Labour remained virtually unchanged from 2019 and that the Tory crash was mirrored by a Reform surge. It is a result that leaves no room for doubt in its clarity. The British Labour Party has, of course, won the general election, and with the overwhelming majority of 412 out of a total of 650 seats, that is. The Tories, who were in power, have just 121 seats. In percentage terms, Labour will now have 64% of the MPs and the Tories only 19%. And yet behind this apparent clarity lies a completely different set of numbers. Namely, the parties that the British actually voted for. And here too, Labour is ahead of the Tories, of course, but the difference is smaller. In the whole of the United Kingdom, as I said, 33.7% voted for Labour and 23.7% for Tory. And therefore, Labour receives almost twice as many seats as their nationwide votes. And the reason for this imbalance is the British electoral system. And there are no nationwide lists, but each constituency votes individually for one of the 650 MPs. And the decision is made by simple majority. Anyone who has even one vote more than the other candidates automatically wins the entire constituency. And this can lead to the absurd situation that in a constituency with 5 candidates of roughly equal strength, the winner only receives around 20% of all the votes in the district. And the votes of other voters, although there were hardly any fewer, are simply lost. The fact that Labour and Tory are so much closer in terms of the share of the vote than in terms of the distribution of seats shows how close the battle between the two parties often was, and how good Labour is at winning these duels this time. The share of the vote also shows that it was primarily an election against Tory and not for Labour. Labour won its super victory with just 1.9% more votes than it received in the disastrous last election. The Tories, on the other hand, lost almost 20% of the vote. The electoral system particularly disadvantages small, non-locally anchored parties, although small has also become relative in Great Britain. Nigel Farage, one of the best-known right-wing populists of the Brexit era, noticed this particularly clearly. Farage was originally the founder of the Brexit Party, which he renamed Reform UK after the Brexit was completed in 2021. He only joined the already short election campaign a month before the election. Farage and his splinter party managed to lure away disappointed voters from the Conservatives on a large scale, for whom the path to Labour was apparently too far to the left. And even his result in terms of seats is respectable, as Reform UK immediately had 5 MPs after the election. For those used to proportional representation, the discrepancy with the Reform's party share of the vote is stark, because more than 14% of all Britons voted for Farage's party. And this makes it the party with the 3rd most votes in the United Kingdom. The Lib Dems, on the other hand, received a record number of MPs with their 12.2% of the vote, and that's 72 seats, and this gives them the 3rd most seats in Parliament. The Scottish National Party, on the other hand, has 9 MPs with 2.5% of the total vote, while the Irish Sinn Féin has 7 MPs with 0.7% of the vote. Farage's Reform UK was able to move more people than other parties, but almost always failed to mobilize a majority in a specific constituency. It often came second, a particularly thankless place in the British electoral system. For Farage, the election result is nevertheless the fulfillment of long-held dreams, even beyond the respectable victory. Farage himself is one of the 5 Reform MPs who made it into the British House of Commons, something he had tried but never managed in the 7 previous elections, not least because of the right to vote, says Farage. The big loser in Northern Ireland in the British general election on Thursday is the Democratic Unionist Party, the DUP. It lost 3 of its 8 seats. It also surprisingly lost the seat in the North Antrim constituency, which had been virtually in the possession of the Paisley family for more than half a century. At first, Ian Paisley, the party's founder, was the MP for this constituency. After his death, his son of the same name took over the post. And this Thursday, the seat went to the loyalist hardliner Jim Allister. For Sinn Féin, the former political wing of the now disbanded Irish Republican Army, the election result was quite pleasing after the bitter defeat in the European elections and the local elections in the Republic of Ireland. The party was able to defend all 7 seats, some with a much larger margin than in the last elections. And for the first time in Northern Ireland's history, Sinn Féin is the strongest force at all 3 levels of government, in the regional parliament, in the district administrations, and now also in Westminster. For the neutral Alliance Party, the election result was mixed. Its upswing in the last regional elections has stopped for the time being. The party lost its seat in North Down, but won the seat in Lagan Valley, which former DUP leader Jeffrey Donaldson had held since 1997. Donaldson is the main reason for the decline of the DUP and the fragmentation of the unionist camp that advocates Northern Ireland remaining in the United Kingdom. He is accused of various sexual offences that he is said to have committed between 1985 and 2008. And the day before the election, he appeared in court, where the number of charges was increased from 11 to 18. One case involves rape, 4 cases of gross indecency with a child, and 13 cases of sexual violence against a woman. Donaldson's wife Eleanor is charged with aiding and abetting rape, cruelty to a person under the age of 16, and aiding and abetting sexual assault. Jeffrey Donaldson was elected leader of the DUP in June 2021. He led the party's campaign against post-Brexit trade arrangements by withdrawing his party from the Northern Ireland executive, leading to a 2-year political deadlock in Northern Ireland. Earlier this year, he abandoned the boycott, allowing Northern Ireland's political institutions to be reinstated. And the judge said on Wednesday he was satisfied that there was sufficient evidence to prosecute the Donaldsons and adjourned the case until September 10th. So this story is not over either, but it's just showing one thing about the state of the DUP. That's why I talked about this as well. Everyone still has the same right as everybody else, innocent until proven guilty, but the charges are a fact. And so for a person in a political position like Donaldson, I cannot leave that out. But if you want to know more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.